Good morning. Lovely to see a full-packed house. Your Majesty, Ambassador Sir, and friends, to be back at this jewel of a festival is a great personal treat for me. And to see it grow to what it has, and this year's theme, to enlighten, evoke, evolve, most inspiring. So thank you all very much to give me this chance to be here again with all of you to share. And I will take a leaf out of Her Majesty's keynote address yesterday, where she said she threw out the keynote address and spoke from her heart. That's really the only way one should speak, from the heart. And you use the words, how important it is to connect. And I think all of us here agree that we are here to connect and to extend love and to extend warmth and friendship. In that spirit, I'm so delighted to be talking to Binod. I can call you Binod, right? I don't know how to address billionaires except in a very familiar and rather irreverent fashion. Also, because I loved your book so much. And I don't say that lightly. It could have been a very stuffy book about a very pompous book about your achievements, which are indeed known and widely known and applauded. But the book, with its honesty and some of the confessions about your failings, was what made the book for me. And I read a lot of personal accounts, biographies. It made it stand out for me for that reason, because there was no attempt, there was no bombast. It was telling your story. The fact that you wrote the book originally in Nepali is in itself very interesting, that it was translated very competently into English by someone who got your voice. Very often, you know, when books are in translation and the voice is not yours, it's the translator thinking it's your voice. And it's so disappointing when you hear that book being read at festivals and you say, well, did I really say that? Did I really mean that? Did I really, write this? But this book was remarkable for that reason, having known you a little bit. And also because I think it's the only book written by a billionaire in our region, our part of the world, which says it like it is. So let me start by asking you, because your success story is well documented and well known, and you can just Google it and you'll get everything about YY and how you made it big. What interested me in the book was your acknowledgements of your failures. So what would you say are your top 3 failures? Maybe one that's not mentioned in the book, but I found all of it very fascinating, the failures.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shobhaa. And I'm so delighted and honored to be speaking to someone as accomplished in the field of literature as you are, Your Majesty, Your Highness. I'm truly delighted and overwhelmed to be back here to the Bhutan ecos. A little bit about why I'm here again today. One, when this book was launched in 2015, I must acknowledge the support extended by Mitaji that time. I did not have much of idea in terms of how to take the story forward to a larger audience. We truly believe, coming from a small country like Nepal, coming from a very humble background in Nepal, someone who went to government school, Sarkari school, in public bus, without any false sense of modesty, having reached to whatever level. There is no definition of how big is really big, but I thought this is a story which needs to be shared to a larger audience. So we and our publishers decided that I think the book needs to be fine-tuned, redone, and relaunched on the occasion of the 10 years of the book's publication. And I could not have found and chosen a better place to do this. Bhutan Echoes is truly, I've been to a few lit festivals, including the Jaipur Lit Festival. I think it is truly an amazing platform. It's an amazing event, beautifully crafted, so much more deeper and meaningful, and patronage of Your Majesty adds to the entire process. Thank you so much. So that's the reason I'm here. To turn back to the questions. I think I've been quite candid. I've been quite candid in the book about many of the things which I could not accomplish, or our group could not accomplish. You've asked that what is it that is not written there? Probably, I would like to once again say the same thing. A lot of people ask me the question that why did you have to go into politics? I mean, you are an accomplished man. You have made, your dream was to take Nepal to the world through CG Corp Global, your product, your brands. And having my own inclination in the field of art, culture, literature, the journey has been so fulfilling and so enriching. Why the hell you had to get into politics? And that too, to go down to the grassroots and get and contest election. The objective was to see a different Nepal, a prosperous Nepal, a highly stable Nepal, a country which has gone through 30 changes of the governments in 30 years to make sure that this gem in the middle of the South Asia truly achieves what it deserves. I think that's still far from accomplished. That's one honest confession. It's not over yet. The journey is not over yet. I think we are moving forward. We will continue to try. We will continue to strive. It's a country blessed by a huge amount of natural resources and opportunities.
Spoken like a true politician. And we wish you well in your dreams as a politician, knowing the challenges that you faced recently, but you're back in the game, so that's great. The failure I was referring to, which interested me very much, because it was a turning point in your life, was that you flunked your chartered accountancy. Tell us about that period of your life.
I think that also proves that a lot of us think that we plan our future, we plan our destiny. I don't know how much is true, but in my case, I was all set to go to Mumbai to be a chartered accountant. Very excited. I had many other plans. And overnight, my life changed. My father had a medical ailment, which at that point in time, it was seen as quite risky. And I was asked to take over the reins of my family responsibilities, including business. And it was not a huge organization with a big, fat team of professionals. So I had to forgo all of that. I had to join the business. I had to deal with people of my father's generation who would never take me seriously, So that is how the journey began.
But Binod, they weren't taking you seriously, perhaps because you were running a discotheque. So let's hear a little about your disco days.
Well, I think that's everybody's dream, isn't it? I mean, at that age, everybody's dream. I mean, and I think, and particularly if you add the flavor of a bit of a seriousness and give it a give it a business twist, it becomes even more rewarding. I think my 2 years of association with the Copper Floor, which was the first discotheque in Nepal, with a friend who had just returned from Japan, I think certainly outshined anything else which was ever done in the region. Not even these were the days of tabelas and ghungru and the sensation, if you recall.
You sound like a diehard disco guy, which is wonderful. But I'm sure you spent wonderful evenings in Mumbai at Tabela. But
Congruent.
it's your father's attitude to your running the disco that interested me very much, because it was a kind of a family secret that was not a secret. And you'd crawl home in the wee hours of the morning, and your father would be awake, and he would just come and ask you what I thought was a wonderful and a very touching moment between a father and son. He'd ask you whether you'd eaten dinner. And then he'd tell you, well, go back to bed, go back to sleep. I don't know of too many parents who would have such a progressive attitude. So since we are talking about being evolved and all of it, would you say that your father was evolved enough to understand that your running a disco was a very good business decision? He had sensed your entrepreneurial gift early, even during your disco days.
I don't think so.
How was he so
I
kind
certainly
and
he was,
supportive? I mean, my parents would give me hell if I turned up late and said, but I'm doing it as my research program, and so you'll just have to handle it if I roll in at 5 in the morning after discoing at Tabela. They would not have understood. It was in those days, and I'm much older than you are, it was looked down on, but he respected what you were doing.
Well, I would think that definitely he did not appreciate what I was doing, because the social fabric was like that, as you've already mentioned. But yes, there was a degree of seriousness in me that I was not over-influenced with the other nuances of the discotheques. To me, it was like running any business and getting seriously involved. And his reaction, his way of dealing with me was probably the most powerful way of embarrassing me. Yeah. without telling me anything, and yet, making me feel so guilty, I can't tell you.
Later on in the book, you also say, and I like that part very much, you examine yourself and your decisions in your life, and you say that you have a problem with anger management, and it's lost you and cost you a lot, not just in terms of your professional work, but friendships. So can you share something personal about an anecdote, whether it was in the running of your company or a friendship that collapsed because maybe you were a bit too outspoken and your anger got in the way?
Oh, there are too many, No, I think, the good and bad. I think it's a moment of reaction, that the spur of a moment when you react without looking at the implications, The moment you start to evaluate and examine the implication of, reacting strongly against a situation or individual, you will not do that. I think that immediately you react because you've got far too much to do. You are a perfectionist. You want things to be done in a particular way, and you believe it can be done. And when it is not done, but then that is causing any harm, and if that's causing, that moment is moment of anger, anxiety is harmful to anybody. It's only to yourself.
Talk about accomplishments in the
Yes.
same chapter.
Yeah.
And
So
about your setting your standards with other people. Your level of what you consider an accomplishment doesn't always match with other people's standards. And that has sometimes maybe impacted your business decisions or colleagues.
I think it does help in some respects when you try to push the bar to the next level. I mean, we come from I've already admitted, I come from a small country like Nepal and always had big dreams. I was thrown in that situation. Yeah. I mean, for a company of our size to have thought of developing a brand and taking it to the world and fighting with the giants like the Nestle's and the Maggies of the short was something that normally one would not even think about. Yeah. And I think that required not only a lot of courage, It also required determination. And since we had limited resources, we didn't have deep pockets, to get into big scale marketing initiative, advertising initiative, ATL initiatives, etc., etc. So we had to push our resources to deliver probably 3 times more than normally what it will deliver. So I think somewhere that fear factor that you are talking about, or the factor or the image, that comes with me, that he's a no-nonsense man and he can be pretty hard at it, has been helpful.
I hope it's the people who were the receiving end felt the same way. But clearly, you've succeeded.
You can ask Rahul. He's sitting right there.
Rahul, you want me to embarrass you by asking your son that?
No problem.
Is he your security blanket right now, both your
No.
children?
I think he's the one who's been through this situation.
Well, he'll have
and
to
evolved
write.
and survived.
He'll have to write his own book about you, and then we'll be back at Bhutan Echoes talking to Rahul about whether your account is more accurate or his insights are. So Rahul, you got 2 years. Your time starts now. So in that same, I really enjoyed the imagery of a tent. You talk about what's required to put up a tent, and the pillars of and the central, which holds the tent in place. And you've talked of one of the pegs that keeps a tent up is family and friendship. So I'd love you to give us some insights which may not be in the book, which when in a situation where you had to pick family or business, what did you actually pick?
Well, I think since you've touched upon a very important subject, probably many of them or some of them may have read it in the book or I've talked about it. I'd like to take a couple of minutes to share. When we talk of a complete life, we talk about the different pillars that has to all be managed or they have to grow together. And with the center pillar being the most important one, which is your professional pillar. Family, public life, social life, and your personal life. Personal life is often something which you may be a recluse. You may be somebody who would like to be alone, a loner. You may like to just go out bird watching or writing, So my point is that a lot of people confuse that there has to be a proper time allocation for everything. Everything is as important. It cannot be that you try to push one pillar forward at the cost of the other. And I think that's what you are asking. I think I have to be honest that if at all compromises have been made in terms of me giving time with the family or enjoying my time with the family or being there at difficult moments when I need to be there, probably I have not compromised. Sometimes, on a very rare occasion, okay, I may exchange it, but again, make it up. Make it up. But to me, it's very important.
Very important.
It's very
I've
important.
seen that always.
Yeah.
You mentioned the fear factor earlier when we were talking. And there's an incident in the book where your friend Sudhir takes you on a little joyride in an aircraft and you're terrified and because of the noise and you feel this is the end. And he was also the guy who actually passed his CA.
CA?
The chartered accountant.
No.
That's the other guy.
He's a professional pilot.
Okay.
In fact, a very dear friend of mine, he just retired about a couple of years back as the senior-most pilot of Nepal Airlines. He was my childhood friend, and he wanted to get into flying. So he used to go to the Delhi Flying School. And in Delhi Flying School, those days, they used to have these little aircrafts called Puspak. I don't know how many of you have seen. And these Puspak aircrafts literally used to look like a toy, made of fabric and very dainty, And then he said, come, I'll show you a plane. He didn't even tell me that he's going to take me on a sortie, on a flight. He said, I'll show you a plane. He took me and he said, come, sit. Just see, feel how you feel. I sat inside. And then he said, okay, I will show you all the instruments. And he sat next to me and there he goes. Okay, and he was taking me through the streets of Delhi, and my God, that must have been the most dreadful experience of my life, which I think you're talking about. Talking about aviation, I think I'd like to share something, because Nepal's gone through yet another aircraft recently. But so many people have sadly got this notion that aircrafts keep falling in Nepal. But the reality is that we run some of the best airlines in our country, Buddha Air, for instance, which has 40 aircrafts, okay? And touch wood, there has never been any mishap. There are these fringe airlines sometimes who compromise with the standards, and it's a regulator's issue which keep falling, and they send out a wrong impression. People don't talk about airlines, they talk about aircrafts. I wanted to just make this point so that the larger audience is aware that Nepal is still a safe place to visit.
Good one. Binod, I wanted to ask you about, again, it's back to fear, because that's something most of us never like to acknowledge in public, that we've been afraid, or we've been in situations which are life-threatening, and we've come through. But you have several times. So the chapter on the earthquake, the first one which you endured, and if you could just expand on that, because that whole, what happened in the hotel, you were there with your wife, and it was, even reading that, it was so vivid that I felt, my God, for someone to have gone through an experience, it is a life-altering experience, but it also taught you many lessons. And then what it taught you when Nepal went through the earthquake was to give back and do whatever you could to make sure that the country came back. You provided funds for schools and clothes and food. But it was the memory of that absolutely horrific earthquake that you lived through. So if you could just recreate that memory again for the audience today.
Sure. I think, undoubtedly, that was that was a moment when I felt that was the end of my life. I had not even an iota of hope that will survive. So much so that my wife was trying to sort of, push me that let's go down, let's walk down. We were on the 14th floor in a hotel in Chile, Santiago. And if I'm not mistaken, that time it was the second biggest earthquake recorded in the history. 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And, we were so excited to leave the hotel next morning at 6 o'clock to go to the airport to fly out to Rio, a city of my dream, where I'd never been to. And here, at about 4 o'clock in the morning, the whole thing begins to shake. The very, very scary sounds, blasts, because, when the wires, when the poles go apart, the electric wires, and the glass, the building, the facade of the glass in the building the facade of the building, they begin to crack. So it's a unthinkable kind of a situation, and it was going on and on and on, and I knew I was just waiting for the beam to fall on our head any moment. So when she said, let's go out, let's try to make an attempt, I said, what's the point? She was praying, and I probably was also praying. I'm a spiritual person, but I had no hope. And slowly, when started to, settle down, and then we said that, hey, we have survived. And that was a moment when we realized what life is all about. And that certainly, as you're saying, I wouldn't like to elaborate, changed the way we were looking at life. And as destiny would have it, in 2015 again, we were stuck with the Nepal earthquake, which the whole world knows about. It was the far bigger. You know, the good news about the Santiago earthquake was that they were used to it. They were well positioned. Because the first one was also in Santiago, and the Germans had rebuilt the city. The buildings, the bridges, they were capable. They were designed in such a way that they were capable of handling a disaster of that scale. But Nepal was not. 800,000 homes were down. Thousands of schools were down. In 16 districts, Nepal was devastated. Foreign help and aids kept on pouring in, but we were not able to take it to the place where it needed to go. The system, the administrative system, the system of governance was simply not capable to deal with this scale of disaster. I mean, Indian government of India, and I would like to acknowledge Prime Minister Modi was the first one. Our Prime Minister was in Indonesia that time. I think there was a global event happening there, and he was the first one to inform him, which was a bit embarrassing that time, though. And the plane loads of things were sent, rescue workers were sent, but they could not. So we put together, and that's where the businesses come in.
Yes.
I think this is where I always say in different international forums that it's not signing the check is the easiest thing that you can do to support. What is needed in times of crisis, in times of disaster management is the skill and the ability to put together the resources which were otherwise scattered. We put together a team of people who went to the site, trained the local people who were later on going to stay in those homes, the simple earthquake-proof homes. In fact, we had a NGO from called SEED from India. I must acknowledge them. And they had worked in Jammu and Kashmir. They had worked in Gujarat, Bhuj. So they were, and PwC came to our rescue. I posted a social media post that I don't need any money. I need skills. Yes. We will tell our people how to build these homes and put it back to order. And we did start delivering the homes in 30 days' time. I think that's what is needed, you know. I mean, there will be many people and organizations who are ready to sign check. It calls for a personal, entrepreneurial thinking, innovative thinking.
Would you say your entrepreneurial and innovative thinking has a lot to do with your Marwadi genes?
I think so. I think so. Otherwise, tell me, I think there is, in Shekhawati, okay, and there is about 16 square miles of the area comprising of 7 or 8 villages, which are no more the village, slightly bigger sound, from where 90% of the Marwaris whose names you see all over the world, right from the Mittals to Bidlas to whoever comes from. Why? India is huge. Why does it have to be Rajasthan? Why does it have to be Shekhawati? Why does it have to be those 7, 8 villages within the radius of 16 miles? I'm sure there has to be something. Talk about the Jewish community. Yeah. It's the same thing. Yeah. I think, if I'm not mistaken, and please pardon my ignorance, I believe 50% of the US politics and business is run by the Jewish people. Why? And how? And you can talk about some other communities too, Gujaratis. Okay, Gujaratis. So I think there is something there. I wouldn't call it whether it's the genes, it's the matti, it's the water, it is something.
Can't be the food, right?
Huh?
Can't be the food. But Shekhawat, in fact, what is not known about it is the great beauty of the Havelis, the painted Havelis.
That's right.
And that the Marwadi community across the world is now spending so much, investing so much in making the world aware of its heritage, artistic heritage, which is fantastic because the pride in roots is something that every single one of us here, I'm sure, we feel the same way about our own roots. Yeah. So your when your forefathers decided to leave this little Shekhawat in Rajasthan, what do you think was the impetus to come all the way to Nepal to start their lives, leaving that behind? And the women who came with them, I mean, your family.
My grandfather, I was told he was about 14, 15, 140 years ago. I mean, he was most migrating families probably follow this trail.
Yeah.
There is someone out there who says, come on, because you need job or you need work, you need to earn, you need to be the breadwinner of the family. So they say, come with me and I will take you somewhere. I'm sure my grandfather wouldn't have done a lot of research to go to Nepal. Otherwise, probably he would have chosen some other place,
140 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, 140 years
imagine
ago.
the kind of
because
research that
Nepal
would have
was
been.
probably as backward, if not more, than the Rajasthan itself. Rajasthan had its own share of issues that time, nowhere close to what it is now.
Yes.
A lot of the Marwadis went to Calcutta, many went to Mumbai, many also went to many other parts of the world. So I think it was a destiny. It was destiny which brought him there, but we are so happy he came there. It has been a most fulfilling journey as a business house, as an individual, as family. We're proud Nepali citizens. Our headquarters is Nepal. We are now running it to the 5th generation, including my grandchildren. Okay, and I think whether it happened by destiny or by default, that's the best thing that happened.
Because the earlier session, there was an emphasis on reincarnation, destiny, some things which are beyond being rationalized, something intuitive. But intuition can take you only this far. At the end of it all, it has to be slog, hard work, and sweat. And with 5 generations of your family, completely, they are Nepali. They have their Indian roots, but they are Nepali. And you are probably the first Marwadi roots politician who's in active politics now.
Yeah.
So how does the rest of you're still very much in touch with your family back in India. What do they feel? Do they think you're Nepali, or do they think you're an Indian pretending to be a Nepali?
I don't think so. I think both the Marwari community in Rajasthan, and we don't have many relatives as such. We have, from the marriage side of my children, we have their in-laws, okay? And I think they always, whenever we go back for our family rituals to Rajasthan, to the religious places, they all give us due respect and regard. They're happy that someone's gone to Nepal and been an elected member of parliament, being part of the system there, not only in business, but also in social change, in politics. I think in Nepal, likewise, I think we have a huge Marwari community present there. But it's not, politics is not about restricting yourself to one little box. I think you have to open frontiers. Okay, I think we have been well embraced by the country. We are like I see here, and I feel so proud while I was walking in right here. I mean, I heard some names from the excellencies in the cabinet with Nepali background. So this is a fantastic blend of the history, the heritage, as well as the culture. I think the same thing is we've been able to adapt to the Nepalese. When I say Nepalese, we are very much Nepalese from mountainside or with a different Mongolian background. We have Mongolian background and the Aryan background. Nepal is mixed of Aryans come from the Indian side. Like my eldest son Nirvana is married to the Mongolian side. Yes. Yeah, so I've got beautiful grandchildren from that descent. Yes. So I think the whole society has been so well blended and it's a melting pot.
You've led a rich and adventurous and exciting life. And I congratulate you on the book. And I'm hoping very quickly there'll be a sequel. because this ends where another book should begin. Your journey later, subsequently, in all that you've done, particularly documenting your political career, which is not quite well represented in the book. So here's wishing you all the best for your second book, which I hope will be with us at the next Bhutan Echoes. We have a few minutes. I'd like to throw it open to questions. I'm sure there are many. It's been a fascinating life, life well lived, and a very cherished life. Your family life, your worldwide friends who respect you, and your global recognition as a billionaire from Nepal. It's something to be very proud of. With that, may I throw it open to questions? I did see a few hands up.
Hello, I'm Poop. I'm an entrepreneur, and I have a question for you. Two questions, actually. First of all, big fan of YY. Thank you so much. I think I represent every Bhutanese in saying thank you for YY. Two questions. As an entrepreneur, first question is, have you ever been broke before?
Have you?
And have you ever been broke?
Have you been broke?
No, okay.
Yeah.
And second question is, as an entrepreneur who's also thinking about scaling up a business beyond Bhutan's borders, and what advice would you give as someone who has managed to do it, to scale up your business beyond Nepal's borders?
Thank you. Great questions. I think that gives me an opportunity to share a couple of things which I wanted to share anyway. I think YY, because of the 4 generations of the consumers, the lovers of YY, who have a story to tell, who have, something extraordinary about their association and love affair with YY, is today a global brand. And coming from a small country like Nepal, it wouldn't have been possible. I think that answers your question, whether, your question if what the new breed of business and the young businessmen should do from Bhutan. I've always believed that no matter how small a country you come from, the whole world is yours. There is no restriction, particularly now. You couldn't have been born at a better time when the world is so much connected. You don't need mega dollars to launch your product worldwide. You can do it with the help of your handset. And if you have a compelling product, and if you have a strong story to tell, it can spread to any width and length in any part of the world. Capital is available because people, the venture capitals, the private equities are looking for young people like yourselves who want to grow, who have a vision, who have commitment, who are prepared to deliver that commitment. They follow you. You don't follow the capital anymore. This world is the world of ideas. Ideas drive the world and economy. It's not the capital. So capital will follow you. So the whole world is on your lap, my dear friend. That's what I like to tell every Bhutanese. You are, in some respects, going through a similar kind of a challenge as we are going through. Sri Lanka is going through, Bangladesh is going through the migration of the youth, educated masses. And I think that's the hope and that's the confidence. We've got to showcase success stories which have taken place in your own country to establish that it can be done right here. You can connect the world. You can connect the whole world like the Bhutan Ecos is connecting the world of Ecos. She said a beautiful, Her Majesty said a beautiful thing that I want to take Bhutan Ecos to the world. Likewise, you can tell your take your rich culture, your brand, your products. I think they're beautifully crafted. I was looking at the OGOP products, which my friend and brother Kelly presented to me yesterday. Such a wonderful man, by the way. And I totally taken aback with the quality. I think sky's the limit. Now, just adding a little bit to what you said, okay, about the broke part. Huh? I've never been broke, otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here. But I've gone through serious financial crisis because of unpredictability. We work in a world where, particularly, I wouldn't like to associate Bhutan. It's a very well-run country. I think Bhutan is doing, and I've complimented this publicly, privately, and I like to say this here also. I think Bhutan, hats off to their majesties. They've done a beautiful job in terms of building the right blend of politics with the respect for the monarchy and working together to deliver a prosperous Bhutan, which I can clearly see in Galifu Mindfulness City. His Majesty has been very kind to share his vision to us, to me, from time to time. And every time I hear the story, I feel so excited. All the pillars of this story is going to place Bhutan, not only Bhutan, South Asia into a new place in the world. I think it's a great, I don't know how many of you, and this is a message I want to give to the young minds sitting right there. You have to remember that there is something more extraordinary happening here. His Majesty is traveling 20 hours a day, working so hard to bring in all those elements which is needed here, and it can be done, which is going to be into the benefits of all the neighborhood. That's another huge benefit. They're not seeking concessions, they're not seeking capital. They are trying to create a hub for doing what we could not do in our own country. I think that's the greatest, I would say, imagination, I think dream, which the Bhutan is in the process of delivering. So I would like to say that have faith in yourself, have confidence in yourself, have resilience in yourself. It can be done. Okay? Hundreds of Binod Chaudharys and hundreds of YY can be born out of Bhutan and the region.
Beautiful. Do we have time, or can we take, there's a question there, question here.
His Highness.
That's wonderful.
Hello. Oh, you can ask first. I can ask later.
So I would just like to ask, I have two questions. My first question is, this beautiful lady asks you that about your top 3 failures, and following on this topic, I want to ask, what do you see in the importance of failure? And the second question is that people say that when you're at your lowest state and when you failed, you always have to pick yourself up, but it's easier said than done. So I would like to know what's your mindset and how do you get back from your failures?
Thank you, Your Highness. I think it's a brilliant question. You know, I think I'd like to repeat by saying the same famous saying it goes, that there is no harm in falling down so long you have the courage to get up and rise again. You know, I think that's all about. If you give up, if you feel that that's the end of it, that's the end of your journey too. I think there is no problem that cannot be resolved. It's only a question of finding a new solution from a new direction. And that's what I've followed. There have been businesses which has taken me 20 years to turn around. We are still working the group, although my 3 sons are far more active and my role is more of a mentor, more of a, policy kind of an advisor, strategy advisor, because I'm now into different
Not true
journey,
at all. You're
different
very
journey,
hands-on.
Different
Very
journey.
hands-on.
I think we have to have the confidence in our idea, and we have to, and it's easy. It's easy because what is happening in the world and how world has transformed problems into opportunities. It's all there in your hand. You don't have to do too much of research these days. It's the best thing that can happen. So, humbly, Your Highness, confidence in yourself and not giving up. I think these are the two words.
Very nice. I think that should be the last question. Right, thank you.
Shobhaa, what are the failures that you've learned from as a writer, and how have you
It's
reinvented
his session.
yourself?
Mine is tomorrow. You can ask me that tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll ask about him.
Ask him.
You've read and enjoyed his story. If someone were to make a film on his life, who would you cast in it as him?
Why not me?
Touche. I mean, absolutely. Why not you?
Yeah.
Young and handsome. So thank you very much. You've been an absolutely fantastic audience, informed audience, lively audience, and it's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Shobhaa
And
ji.
I look forward to your next book. And I think all of us have responded to your optimism and your joie de vivre, your excitement at life itself and its possibilities. And that's positivity at its most inspiring. So thank you again for a fabulous session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shobhaa. It's been a remarkable session. I mean, never have felt so good chatting on stage. And for some of you, my next book should be ready. We already completed the book. We're working on the fine-tuning my journey from 2013 until 2025, which has lots of mistakes that I've learned from, lots of failures that I'm still trying to grapple with, and a new journey, the political journey, more importantly. And finally, before I leave, I also should give you another news. We are working on a book, which is the YY story. How YY was created. God willing, that should be there next year. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Anis.